How are you, everyone? Dumela, everyone. It's lovely to meet you all and see you all this morning. I spoke on
Dumela.
Dumela.
Yes.
If there's one thing I miss about Africa, it's the women. I'm so excited to see so many of you on today. We had more of a Sydney or an Australian crowd on Tuesday. So this is wonderful. And I've so enjoyed Lungi's story. I don't know how I'm going to follow up on that because my story, relatively speaking, is incredibly boring. But today I'm going to share a story with you about how I did something that the FBI told me was impossible. And I'm also going to share a story with you about the vision I have for women. So you may recognize my accent. I do have a South African accent. I was born in Joburg and I have Italian German parents, but my father was born in Eritrea. So I'm actually second generation African, believe it or not. But let me tell you my story. Now, about a week before Christmas in 2015, I logged into my computer. I logged into my bank account because I wanted to do some Christmas shopping. And I had minus $100,000 in there. Minus $100,000. Now, up until this point, that year I had separated from my husband. He never worked. He was an entrepreneur, so I supported him. And I was also a single mother because when I was 20 years old, I was halfway through my university degree. My son's father was killed in a car hijacking on the way to work in town. So basically, I was a child myself when it happened, and I really had to grow up overnight very, very quickly because here I was, I hadn't even finished my degree yet to try and earn an income. And now I was responsible for this little human being who needed me more than anything. And then at the age of about 6, it was his first year of school, the teacher came to me and he said, look, I don't know what's wrong with this kid, but he's not going to learn to read this year. So they did some tests on him, and what had happened is he'd gone deaf over a period of 3 years. So they operated on him and they fixed it because he could hear through the bone, but not the eardrum. So they fixed that. But what I didn't realize is over that period of 3 years, there's so much development that he missed out on because he couldn't hear, and he struggled to read and write properly for years and years. I mean, his spelling was atrocious. So it was very expensive. And I had put myself through another degree in my hope to earn more, to try and give this child more. And then I got married in 2012 to a guy who I said was an entrepreneur, but he was an absolute narcissist. He was verbally abusive. I had a period where I lost my sense of taste and they thought I had a brain tumor. And he had an affair and said to me when I was upset, he said, you're an absolute bitch for being upset. You are so selfish. And he had tears in his eyes. He was so upset and hurt by me being upset that he was having an affair. And he said, you could be dying and I'm only trying to look for a replacement wife. So for me, that was a blessing because I knew there and then that I had to get rid of him. And that's what I did. So by the end of 2015, I was debt free. I was 40 years old. I was on my way to hopefully building some sort of nest egg for myself in my old age, because what happens is we as mothers end up sacrificing so much for our children. And really, I had no savings at that point. Everything went into my son. Now, what had happened is somebody had gotten into my bank accounts, into my credit cards, and I had paid them all off. In Australia, you can take out a new card and roll over the debt and then not pay interest on that card for a period. So when I was married to my husband and I had his sexually transmitted debt, that's what I did. So I had 5 credit cards, nothing on them, all paid off. Life was good. And suddenly I owed this money. And what I found out is it was a sort of a hacker who got into my accounts and cleared out everything essentially. But the hacker was had an office in the UK and there were a head office in Bermuda. So I had to go to the Australian police, the UK police, the FBI, Interpol, and everybody said to me, it's too hard. So here I am, and look, I do suffer from depression. Had a complete nervous breakdown because I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to spend the next 10 years of my life paying a debt off that I've had nothing to do with. What is the point in going on? I completely crashed in a heap. I couldn't even work for 2 months. I thought about killing myself. I've still got some scars where I had a bit of a go at it. But eventually I came out swinging. And even though everybody said to me, just give up, don't, there's nothing you can do about it, I found the guy. I actually got an anonymous tip, and somebody said to me, they sent me a picture of this guy on Facebook. There was a lovely picture of him in a big pink flamingo in his pool, lounging back, drinking a cocktail. So I wrote to him and I said, I know exactly who you are. I am coming to Tel Aviv next week to start criminal proceedings against you because the scam came out of Tel Aviv. I didn't even have money for a taxi to the airport in Sydney, but he didn't know that. And the thing is, you see, he left me with nothing to lose. He left me with nothing to lose. And I learned something incredibly valuable about motivation. When you have nothing to lose, you draw on resources that you never thought you had. And maybe that's what we mothers do. I also said to him, look, if you don't give me everything back, I'm going to put your name all over social media. I'm going to tell Interpol. I mean, Interpol didn't care, but again, he didn't know. And a friend of mine who's in security said to me, look, you're nuts, because he could get a contract put out on you for $20,000. He could have you killed and still keep $80,000. What are you doing? And I said to him, well, I've got nothing to lose. I don't care anymore. So I just went for it. Got all my money back within a month. And that August of 2016 was one of the best months of my life. My divorce came through. I got retrenched and I was being bullied at work. So that was an absolute blessing. And that's where I decided that I was going to work for myself, because I just didn't find that working for a big company made my soul sing. And, with all my experiences with growing up in Africa, with seeing how those women struggle, I'd also read a book called Half the Sky. So make a note of that, ladies. It's a brilliant book. It talks about the situation with women in the world at the moment, and in terms of maternal health, money, and the slavery issue that's going on. So Half the Sky. And that really also changed my life. So I decided I was going to start working for myself, but I was also going to start pursuing my purpose, something that made my heart sing, and the reason I was put on this planet, because I certainly wasn't put on this planet to make another big company more money. So today I work with women and I teach women how to build online businesses so that they have financial freedom, the financial freedom to live a beautiful life. Because when I sat in front of that laptop looking at this negative monetary balance, I don't want anybody ever to feel that way again. I don't want women to struggle and worry about how to pay the next bill or how am I going to feed the kids this month, because that's what happens to us. So what I wanted to talk about now was what happens with women. Why do we end up with this poverty in midlife? Because 1 in 3 women, even professionals in countries like Australia, New Zealand, the US, the UK, even professionals end up living below the poverty line over the age of 45. So if it's that bad in countries like this, you can imagine what it's like in countries in Africa or in Asia or in South America. And it's got to change. It's got to change. What generally is the reason for this is that, one, we have a gender pay gap. And the second is that we end up spending a disproportionate amount of time out of the workforce looking after children. And of course, divorce. So you take all those 3 things together and we end up in this poverty trap. When women get divorced, their salary goes down 10%. A divorced man's salary goes up 26%. 26%. So let me tell you the story about Sophie and Andrew. Now, Sophie and Andrew, they go to university together. They do the same degree. They meet, they fall in love, and they graduate. Sophie gets a job for $40,000 and Andrew gets a similar job for $48,000. They get married, they buy a little house, they work for another 2 years, and then Sophie comes home one day and says, Andrew, guess what? I'm pregnant. Now at that point, they have the discussion and Andrew is earning $20,000 more than Sophie because of this gender pay gap. So they decide, naturally, Sophie's going to stay home and look after the babies. Fast forward 10 years, they've got 3 kids. And Sophie decides she's going to go back to work. So she's been out of the workforce for 10 years and she needs flexibility because she's got to pick up the kids. Sometimes they're sick, so she has to be home. So she finds a reception job earning $25,000. And at this point, Andrew's earning $100,000. Fast forward 5 years and they decide to get divorced. So they split their assets in half, nice and neat, very fair. At this point, Andrew decides to buy a house And Sophie can't afford the mortgage for a house that can house her and 3 children. So she puts all her money in the bank and she rents. Now, by the age of 55, Andrew's paid everything off and he's got $500,000 in the bank. And Sophie has used up all her expenses, all her savings from the divorce, and she's still living in a rented home. And she's facing a future of poverty, living on the poverty line, earning a pension. Now, she's lucky in that she has a pension. Some countries don't even provide these pensions. And this is a very, very common scenario. I mean, I've got women, clients who I've helped. One lady thought she was fine. She had a very successful business, 55 years old. She didn't have children, but she had a husband and he started working in the business. So they got divorced. She gave him their family assets. She took the business and she found out he hadn't paid tax in the business for 3 years. So she had to declare bankruptcy. So here you've got a woman who thought she had everything. She had a business, she had a house, a farm, 2 cars, 3 cars. And suddenly she's sleeping on her father's couch in the retirement home at 55 and she's bankrupt. So you can imagine how terrified she was when I met her, because she was like, how the hell am I going to, I could live until I'm 85. That's another 30 years. How am I going to do that? I've got other women, other clients who have health issues. I've got one lady who's had 2 organ transplants and she's single and she can't work full time. And this is just wrong. So I'm on a mission to help these women. And the beauty today is that we have this wonderful avenue of online. Online coaching, which is the area that I work in, is the second fastest growing industry in the world, second to IT. And I'm so excited because women are embracing it. They are jumping on board. I mean, Lungi, you could have a course, for example, on sailing, women who want to sail. I love sailing. I learned 18 years ago here in Sydney, and believe me, I'm not a polar explorer, but gosh, wouldn't it be wonderful if you could empower women like that? So today, ladies, I want to leave you with 3 points. The first point is you have to be prepared to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to break down some of these barriers. I've heard a number of you say, I'm a Black woman, I'm afraid of water. If you keep telling yourself that, you will be. But you see what Lungi did? She broke through that barrier and she actually broke out of her comfort zone and started doing something different. And look at her life now. I would never have started my own business if I hadn't been retrenched, because, for many years I was too terrified. I had this child to look after. I had no support system. Thanks, Karen. And I really just was too afraid to start my own business. Mentally, I thought I couldn't, I didn't deserve it. But I was put in a situation where I had nothing to lose. And I was given a wonderful opportunity with my retrenchment. So you must push yourself out of your comfort zone, because that is where you grow. That is where you flourish. That is where this beautiful flower within you just blooms and flourishes. And it really does when you start pursuing something that makes your soul sing. The second thing I wanted to talk about is find your tribe and love them hard. Now, Gertrude loved this the other day, because this is our tribe. These are women who are like us, who support us, who will inspire us, who will push us. And we need more of that. If the people you are hanging out with at the moment have negative energy and they pull you down, as much as you love them, create distance. Hi, Kathy. Create distance between them, because they are not going to be the wind beneath your wings. Find your tribe and love them hard. And by the way, I love family. We all love our family, but sometimes our family are not good for us and supporting us in our dreams, because they want to keep us safe. They want to keep us wrapped in cotton wool, and they're also not always going to tell us the truth. So love your family, but find a tribe of women who are going to support you. And of course, beautiful men as well who are going to support you. And then the final thing is download my planner and come to my workshop. I'm going to show you how to put together an online course, even if you think there's nothing inside you, because I promise you there is. There is. And if nothing else, let's just hang out for an hour and have fun together. So ladies, thank you so much for having me. Gertrude, mwah, mwah, mwah. And to all the beautiful chair ladies as well. I'm so excited to connect with you. And for those of you who are in Sydney, because we're all kind of stuck here at the moment, I'd love to meet up in person and have a coffee, and not a virtual one, like a real one. So thank you so much.